Happy holidays! Hi everybody. Just put some lip balm on. Now I'm going to throw my hair back so we can get right into this likely long overdue holiday makeup tutorial. Please excuse my voice. I have my annual Christmas cold. So this is a look you can wear to a holiday party. I wore it to a holiday party a few weeks ago. Or, you know, anytime you want a little bit of razzle dazzle. So I'm starting off here with some Embryolisse moisturizer on top of my regular Province Apothecary serum. Because it's winter in Canada and it's flippin' cold and dry. And here what you're seeing me do is put on some Chanel Le Blanc du Chanel, which is what they call a multi-use illuminating base. So I'm using it as a kind of primer to get my skin even more glowy. It does have a little bit of a white cast, but it's an illuminator that has absolutely no shimmer in it, and can be really nice on the skin. I've even seen, you know, supermodels wear it in place of foundation. If you have perfect skin, you can just throw some on and look even more perfect. And for foundation, I'm using two colors of L'Oreal's Pro Glow. You can see I mixed the two lightest shades because one is very pink and one is very beige. So I threw them together to get a bit of a better shade for me. So I've dotted that all around my face, including my neck, which is a little bit red and irritated, in addition to my regular rosy cheeks. And then I'm going to take my beauty blender to blend all this in. I have to tell you, I know that this beauty blender looks orange, but it was their limited edition red carpet beauty blender. It was the first one I ever bought. It was a lot of money, and I was so excited because it was this beautiful deep crimson red. And honestly, the very first time I washed it, all the dye just came running out and I was so disappointed. So after a few washes, it was no longer red. I wonder if that happens to the other colors. Let me know in the comments if this has happened to you. So yeah, just bouncing that all around until my foundation is nicely blended in. And moving on to eyebrows, I'm brushing through my brows with the Real Techniques spoolie brush before going in with one of my favorite brow products of all time. That's the Uemura Hard Formula number 9. It's a very hard pencil, as the name suggests, and it's a nice gray color, which I thought was really strange at first, but the color seems to really adapt to different hair colors, including mine. It's a good match to my natural hair color. Spoiler alert, I'm not a real ginger, if you couldn't tell. And even when I did have my eyebrows colored to match my hair, so a warmer red color, it would still somehow kind of meld with that hair color and look great. And it's a unique formula too because it goes on very softly. It's not like a squishy, soft pencil, which you'd want in, say, an eyeliner or a lip liner. So it gives you a bit more control and definition, and the formula reacts with kind of the natural oils in your skin. So it doesn't look too harsh ever. You just need to build and build, which I'm doing here, and you can tell I'm just focusing on the sparsest parts of my brows, which for me is the tail and leading up to the tail, and then just running a little bit through the front of my brows. Next we'll move on to eyeshadow. I'm using this Creme eyeshadow, which is a warm coppery metallic brown color. This is an H&M product, and I'm just using my finger at first to work it over my mobile lid, so really just focusing on the lash line and not going too far up with that, and taking a clean Real Techniques base shadow brush to blend the edge of that cream eyeshadow. Doing the exact same thing on the other eye. And then I'm gonna bring that with a small shading brush underneath my eye as well. This cream product will act as a nice base, and will make sure that the shadows last quite long, but this is not the main event of this eye look. This is a holiday look, and so there's going to be lots of glitz and glamour coming up. But here we are laying down the foundation for this. Moving on to some powder eyeshadows, I'm going to be using a MAC eyeshadow palette, which has 9 little eyeshadows in it. There it is. And I'm going to be using Cork, which is the warmest matte shade in that palette. And I'll take that on that same shading brush just to kind of set the under eye color and move that through the crease. And with a bigger base shadow brush, I'll then start working that through my crease to kind of diffuse and start blowing the color out a little bit higher towards the brow bone, but not too much. Just want to get some definition in there, which would be a little harsh to do with that cream eyeshadow. Do a quick swap here to my brand new, probably favorite brush from the Real Techniques Powdered Blue collection, which is the B04, and I'm taking that clean just to blend out the edges completely and make sure it's seamless. And then I'm going back in with that same brush to the MAC eyeshadow palette, and I'm taking the darkest matte color in that palette, which is, just a sec, called Aromatic, and I'm taking just the teeniest bit on the very tip of that powder blue brush and running it through the crease to get a little bit of darkness and definition and kind of roundness around the socket of my eye. And finally, I'm going to take my Revlon Impressionist palette, which you would have seen featured in my, what did I call it? Like everyday drugstore tutorial, my last video. Sorry, it's been a while. And I'm just taking the lightest shimmery color in that palette and putting it in the inner corner of my eyes for just a little bit of brightness. And now, putting that also on the brow bone for a little bit of highlight. But get ready, here we go. This is it. I've been wanting to try these for months and months. These are the Stila Magnificent Metals, the brush-on cream eyeshadow. Look at that. It's pretty amazing. It's not the most shimmery product I've ever seen, but it's the most shimmery in the shortest amount of time. The applicator makes it really easy and instant to get that super glitter bomb look. So you can see I kind of focused it on the center of the lid to get almost like a halo eye effect going, and then took that shading brush just to buff the edges of that color to make sure it blends into the cream shadow and isn't too harsh, because when it sets it will be kind of a definite harsh line where the glitter starts and ends. I also put it in the center of my lower lash line just to kind of match up where that glitter is going. It's pretty fun. Then with that same color I mentioned before, the dark matte color from the MAC palette, I didn't find my crease was defined quite to my liking, so I'm going in with a smaller shading brush. You saw me use a big fluffy brush before, and this smaller brush will let me be more purposeful with where the pigment goes with the eyeshadow, so I'm making it essentially darker and more obvious, and running that also along the bottom lash line. Ooh! Pick another brush now from the Powder Blue collection. This is the B02, and I'm taking my Smashbox contour palette, which is well loved, well at least the contour shade is, and running that lightly across my cheekbone, just defining that line that you can kind of see, and realizing, oops, I should have been pressing the powder in so as not to disrupt the seamlessness of my foundation, which is a technique I learned just recently from the incredible John McClane. Look him up on YouTube, he's flawless. And I'm then going to move on, of course, to my my neck, chin, jawline, whatever you want to call it, contour. Just connecting, making one straight line from my jaw to my chin. And moving on, I'm going to be doing blush, just a little bit. This isn't a super blush look. I'm going to be doing a red lip later, so don't want to go too heavy on the pink and the red. So just taking my favorite sleek blush in rose gold and a Real Techniques Bold Metals blush brush, and putting that lightly on the apples of my cheeks. And that's a shimmery blush, so it'll add a nice luminosity to the skin. Speaking of luminosity, this is one of my favorite all-time highlighters. This is the RMS Living Luminizer. It's a cream highlighter, and I think probably the closest thing to the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate highlighter, which is probably the best highlighter I've ever used. And it should be, because it's friggin' $100. Coming in at a bargain, this RMS product is $45. But it's really lovely, and it was one of the only cream highlighters that I've ever used that doesn't disrupt my foundation underneath, which is really great. So putting that all over to have what I think is like a really natural glow, which is nice to using the cream product in the wintertime because it's quite moisturizing. RMS uses a lot of coconut oil in their products. Going in with just a little bit of Tarte Shape Tape Concealer to brighten up my under eyes. And I went in first with a brush, and then I'm just dabbing with my beauty blender to set it. And this is Tarte Shape Tape, as I mentioned, and I find the only way I can love this concealer is if I use it very sparingly. So just using a teeny bit under my eyes and along the bridge of my nose, or the sides of my nose, pardon me. Now I had to stop filming altogether to run into the other room to grab this new contraption. It's a brand new Tweezerman eyelash curler, and as you can see, it's completely plastic from head to toe, which is great. I've been searching for one of these for ages, and I found it at Sally's Beauty Supply, and it works great for me because I actually have a bad metal allergy, so my skin can react to most metals and some eyelash curlers. So just to be safe, I thought I should invest in a good plastic one. This mascara, oh my goodness, it's called the Maybelline Collossal Spider Effect, and yeah, it's a good name because it's the chunkiest, most spidery mascara I've ever used. So, you know, good name and everything, Maybelline, but I did end up having to take a spoolie and clean out those lashes, just brush through them as much as I could to get the excess off and divide the lashes because they were just huge clumps. It was on clearance, probably for a good reason. And because that mascara wasn't waterproof, I'm going to take my MAC Extended Play along the bottom lashes so that I don't get panda eyes later in the evening. I'm pretending like I actually wore this out, but I did not go to a party, ce soir. Okay, we've made it to lips, almost done. You might think liquid lipstick is the thing. Nope. Changed my mind. I'm gonna use this NARS, I think it's called the Audacious lipstick. That's the line, and the color is Rita. I'd like to assume it's for Rita Hayworth, maybe? Rita McNeil? I don't know that many Ritas. Anyways, this is a very creamy lipstick, and I think that's good because I'm gonna use a technique that I saw Mary Greenwell use on a model on Lisa Eldridge's channel. You following me? Where she just insisted the model keep rubbing her lips back and forth until the lipstick was really, you know, smushed into her lips. And I find that I like doing that when I want to get my proper lip shape, because my top lip is much smaller than my bottom lip, so it's a good way to gauge how I have to overdraw my top lips, which I do. I have to kind of overdraw the corners to make them match up with my bottom lip. You can see I took a tissue there and blotted really well. That's super important. And I did the finger trick to get some of that lipstick off my teeth. I didn't get it entirely. Now that I've kind of worked that lipstick and blotted it and smushed it into my lips, that means it's going to last really long, but it's not super defined. So I'm going to take this lip liner that you see me using. It's the Urban Decay 24/7 lip liner in the shade Mrs. Mia Wallace. And I'm really focusing on the inner corners and my Cupid's bow to kind of sharpen up the lines. And this lip liner is also more blue and more dark than the lipstick, so it'll give kind of some definition and dimension. I found that the lipstick on its own was a little bit too red. So I'm going to keep working on those lips. Blotting the lips like that makes this creamy lipstick last super long. As I said, I did wear this out to a party, and liquid lipsticks that set matte are great for parties because you can eat and drink and all that stuff, but I find that because I naturally smush my lips together, you've probably seen me do it in videos, that it's not that comfortable to do with liquid lipstick. So I opted for the OG. And just as a finishing touch, you don't have to do this, I thought I would put some black eyeliner in my top waterline. So that's what I'm doing. It looks pretty hideous. It doesn't feel great either, but I think it gives a really great but subtle effect. Like, it just thickens the lash line. Ostensibly what we're doing is darkening or covering up the fleshy parts of your eyes on the top of your lash line, thus making it look like you have more lash than flesh, which does not sound great either. Yeah, my eyes are pretty fleshy, so this is a good tip. Just make sure you're using a waterproof eyeliner when you do this, because it can transfer down really easily to your bottom waterline and not look so pretty, unless that's what you're going for. And at the last minute I realized I didn't put brow gel on, so I'm putting some on. This is the Benefit one. It's pretty good. It comes in a flashy package. And this is mainly just to focus on the front of my brows and really brush them out so they look bushy. Okay, we did it. Yeah. Taking my hair down, giving it a good brush so you can see the final look. When I wore this out, I did curl my hair. I actually curled it the day before, kind of did a set in my hair so that by the time it was party time, I had brushed it out enough that it looked great, and it was not unlike Rita Hayworth. Alright, well, happy holidays. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and whatever else you're celebrating. And I'll see you on the flippity flip.